I'm spud on Jordans. Whole lot of shorties. Say the feeling me. Of course it's Mr. A, Mr. Chain react to this shit. Ay, collecting these frames like a party crew. LFG, y'all know what it do. Decentralized vibes, man, the future so cool. No shadow bands, everybody got a voice too. Cast, drop, making some noise. Snap, shot, slow, tortoise. Chain to the flow, we connecting, no noise. Bar Kappa fam got me buzzing my voice. Spin up a cash, we go live on a beat. I'm so loud, everybody on their feet. I hear the cast, now we live on repeat. Man, the GM so loud, it got me losing my shit. I'm spud on Tories. Whole lot of shorties. Say the feeling me. Of course it's Mr. A, Mr. Chain react to this shit. I'm on chain. I'm on chain. I'm on chain. On chain party, how we celebrate. Yeah, far beyond likes, we should call them relate. So every time you hear the cats, remember this song and tag your whole crew and vibe, sing along. Man's from the ZABAL GAMEZ. Shout out Hurricane. Shout out on IG and my lady Candy. Vibes on tour this, y'all know this. Future so bright, on boarding. Of course it would be none if we didn't. Shout out to Dan for holding all these blocks while building with a run. Now that's it's built. We all shout out to Rich for maintaining, owning, and giving us this. This the Forecaster song. Hey.
Awesome. That is a great way to start off today's session. Welcome in everybody to our ZABAL Games workshop session with Los Fomos today. Pauline, Taco, how are we doing today?
On my end, hello. Thanks for the nice welcome. I'm doing great. It's kind of the end of the first heat wave here in France. So it's the first day I was more or less able to sleep in a week, so I feel great. And yeah, over to Taco.
Hey, I could hear Pau, but I couldn't hear anything else before. So what was the question? I'm not sure I can hear.
No worries. Just hope you're doing well today. Just
I
wanted
can't
to hear how everything's going. Can you hear me okay?
Let me leave and join maybe.
Okay.
No worries at all. Sometimes this is part of the Farcaster vibe, right? I'm excited to chat with you guys today, hear a little bit more about Los Fomos, about what you guys have been doing here, bringing your community energy to Farcaster and beyond. And it's a pleasure to have you guys. I'm very excited to chat a little bit more today about what you guys have done and where you guys want to go here over the rest of 2026. In the second half of 2026, actually, we're a really good marker right about halfway through 2026 here in quarter two, and I'm excited to hear how everything's been going with Los Fomos. I would love to get a little bit of for anyone who's new, a little bit of a summary of Los Fomos. But let's see if we got Taco back up. Taco, can you hear us?
Yep, now I can hear you all.
Awesome. Let's go. How are you guys doing today?
Great. It's a really good weather outside. It's a bit windy, but considering that the past few days it was so hot, I think it's kind of like a blessing. So
yeah, I can't sleep in the heat, to be honest with you. When I'm sweating, I just cannot sleep. So I'm giving my cool vibes out there to you guys in the EU and everywhere else where you're getting the heat wave. It's kind of nuts is what I'm seeing.
Yep. It has been a few crazy days, but it's not the first time. It's just that you forget about it, a year passes and then you forget that it was just the same temperature.
It's like this. Same thing every year.
Yeah. But thanks so much for the invite.
I would love for you guys to give a little intro about yourselves. Share with us, what is Los Fomos?
Okay, I will maybe start with telling you a little bit about the backstory of Taco and I, because this is really like the creation story of Los Fomos and how it came to be. Hello, Ariane, Eduard, and Janika. So good to see you there in the audience. So yeah, Taco and I met online when we were both studying in London. It was COVID and we were supposed to meet on campus, but we ended up being completely online. That was in 2020, 21, I think. And so we were supposed to meet, but we didn't end up meeting because our times in London might have slightly overlapped, but we both left London after that during COVID. And so we never met in person, but we kind of connected during that time. We both got into the NFT space. It was Taco who actually led us down a rabbit hole. And we've been here since, but we started working together for like a few years, worked on different projects. And one thing that always kept us connected was sharing different, like sharing content about art, about music, about films as well. And we started creating this world between each other and started sharing that as well on Farcaster a few years ago, I think roughly 2.5 years ago now. And since then, we created Los Fomos long before we actually knew that it would be Los Fomos. And last year, we took the big step of launching the first IRL show. So 1.5 years ago, we started having spicy conversations, the things that we enjoyed listening to on other platforms, with the founders on Farcaster and in crypto in general. And people that we had were like Dan and Varun from Farcaster, ex-Farcaster. We had Luca Nets from Pudgy, Penguins, and a few other really interesting founders in the space. And we did this series called, Spicy Chats, I think we called it. And it was really fun, but Taco and I knew we wanted to, first of all, meet in person because we hadn't met in person. And second, we wanted to take things IRL and create a show so that we have full creative control over the circumstances, the set, and everything. So we raised on Farcaster on the crowdfund app $12K in just like 3 days to buy all the equipment that we needed to film this series in a professional way. And we did that last year, recorded it end of last year. Taco and I met in person. It was absolutely crazy. And yeah, that's where I will stop and maybe let someone ask a question or let Taco fill in if she wants.
No, I love that. I think that journey right there, what you said is that one of the beauties of Farcaster is you have an idea or something that you, another individual, and some other folks really want to make happen, and then you can use the power of blockchain and cross-border payments as well as a social layer tool to raise $12,000 in 3 days, and that's super or six. I wasn't sure exactly how much that was, but it's just really cool to see the power of not just social media, but then actually being able to leverage that into manifesting something into reality, right? Where you guys got to meet in person just from the energy you guys had brought on the timeline in Farcaster, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, though, that we actually launched like 70 episodes with the builders that I was mentioning before, like over the last 1.5 years. And so during this campaign of raising the money for our IRL recordings, we actually pulled off a whole campaign that left us without sleep for about 2 weeks. So I think that there was a lot of strategy behind the scenes that maybe is not apparent just from the surface, I think. But we can get into that after.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, Taco, if you wanted to add anything more.
No, actually, I wanted to bring that thing that, especially about the crowdfund and building the community on Farcaster, it was, I think, the moment where all things aligned. Like by that time, we were building the community for around a year, and then Farcaster started incorporating things like the wallets, and then other projects were created, like Base. Was created and then started to have a momentum, and other projects I think crowdfund was project from I forgot the name of the SIP Club Investment Club, right? And it's kind of like having the things at the same time. Then we were referenced to them by Erica from Forecaster. And then as we were thinking about the opportunities of having the next stage for Los Fomos, we had a call with them and like to learn like how the product works and stuff like that. And we thought what we can do is to have more than just a small fundraise for things and do a whole campaign that kind of like indicates and involves the community that we built on the platform, to basically like pull all the triggers and also set maybe an example of what could be done. Because after we raised, at that time we were the largest and the highest velocity raise, but after that there was our friend offline that also raised, I think, 5K for her project offline, that she recently launched the website for. And there is also a far hack raise. And I think Betterment also made a raise. And we also shared our experience of how we pulled it off to them as well. Because as Paul said, we actually planned and wrote the whole 2-week plan, how exactly we will be rolling out the content, how we will be reaching out, who will be asking to support us. Because I think what maybe wasn't visible there's a lot of projects that got involved because they also saw opportunity how they can become. Noise was part of it. They were having rewards for people who like doubling the rewards who will donate or interact with certain posts. There were people who were they don't even have projects. They were like just supporting and with the different strategies. Like if you're, let's say, investing or like donating $50 or up to $250, then they will be doubling things and stuff like that. I think there was a lot of things that we are happy to share if that's something that is interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to tap in more to that, but let's start. I see that we got a couple questions from some amazing folks, and since Arjun's in the building, I wanted to ask Arjun's first question that he had asked earlier. Looking back to the first time you guys met online until now, how is the journey going so far, and what are the destinations you dream of afterwards? So, in other words, what would Los Fomos be in your dream scenario?
I think it's an amazing question. And Pao and I, at the stage where we defining the next iteration of it, because what I realized, considering also we're working within crypto or how fast the world changes from the technology perspective, we're not really looking in 5 years and locking into the vision, even though we do have some dream scenarios about how IP can grow into series that could be developed around that. We also have ideas about the IRL activations. But I think the next iteration that we're seeing right now is how we develop the brand that is equally attractive to people who are outside crypto. So it's less about talking about tech and more about integrating us into the mainstream culture, and specifically about around IRL experiences, around meeting people in person, about specific curated experiences, and spicy cocktails and spots are also included.
Yeah, I will add to that. It's funny because we had this conversation just a few days ago and shared a lot of dreams and ideas. Thanks for the question, Ariane. I think if we look very, very long term, the absolute dream is to look into the physical world and look at how resorts and member clubs are building their worlds I think that's like roughly what I would say. And creating things that are so valuable because you bring the most interesting people together in a room. And this is like about that. But the first part of your question was like how the journey has been so far. And I think that meeting in person was extremely cool. It changes things. It makes things easier for content creation as well. So we are trying to come back to that point soon. But it's been really fun because of people like you, Ariane, to be honest, and Yannick also.
No, I love that. I think you guys touched on a really important part of the technology, which I want to touch on, and then we'll touch on the like maybe the Web2 socials and how we can get it out there. So IP, that's such a big conversation that I've been having over the last 3 to 6 years with musicians, and my pitch for our brand, the ZAO, is always how can we bring the profit margin, the data, and IP rights back to independent artists. And I think IP is such an important part of that today because as you guys know, and as a lot of the folks on Farcaster know, that if you put any of your IP out there, it is liable to get taken. And being able to put the protections in place to be able to safeguard either proving that you did create that IP or being able to do something after the fact is super important. And I had this idea quite some time ago that I think aligns very interestingly with your guys' brand, and I'd love to hear it. But one of the things I thought that it would be really cool to create would be this idea of IP being created out there by anyone, but only certain IP being approved by the creators. So essentially, creators like the two of you guys or anyone in our ZAO, if fans of them created content around what they were doing, giving a vehicle for those fans to submit that for the original creator to essentially endorse that fan creation. I think that can be a really powerful spread of IP because it can be using IP in the right way of saying, okay, hey, here's something that's out there that, you know, I want to showcase as something that I want to give or donate to this group, and then the leaders of the group or the people who can endorse that content can say, hey, you know, this is a official, you know, ZAO or Los Fomos content, even though it wasn't made by us. We know that this is aligned and in the same style of what we want to do.
I think that's generally an interesting direction, especially when it comes to creating digital content. Well, as you said, potentially you can remix, take anything, likeliness and stuff like that, and create whatever you want around any IP. But I like what Grimes is exploring. Like she created her own like clone of her voice and basically encourages others to create more content and continue creating Grimes music by them, like, you know, by fans. And I think in her model, well, because Grimes and her IP is already kind of established, people tapping into it obviously leverage that side of it, and then she leverages the continuation of her brand by other people continuing creating. And then there is like a split model, like about the earnings, which I think kind of double downs and encourages people to create around her IP. I think generally those conversations are interesting. The question is like, I think Los Fomos is, when we talk about specifics like Los Fomos, it's known within a small bubble, especially on Farcaster. My question is it possible to do something like that when something is so early, as an IP is so early in the development, or it's better off when it kind of has legs and then people like creators who are contributing to the IP basically can leverage the success of the IP by the fact that the IP itself was developed in the first place. I think it's interesting to explore. I think, Isabel, like we think about Los Somos as a place, whether it's a city or some kind of a neighborhood, and then how it can grow, like everyone having their own little corner and expanding it. I think there is a lot of opportunities And I'm always open to share ideas and actually do something and see how it can play out.
Yeah, 100%. I think that understanding the right time to activate some of these toolings is super important, whether that's at a smaller scale or along that growth journey. I'm always really interested in maybe writing it down as a future idea and planning it out, but maybe not immediately executing on it, because I think it can always be very valuable when you're at the foundation level and you're thinking about the things that scale. You might not be at the point of implementing them, but it's just finding when you do get to that point, what are the different things you would do to activate that. And I think that can be really powerful. So I love the idea of Los Fomos as a digital third space where everyone can kind of add their piece of the pie and add their piece of the puzzle. I think that's kind of the beauty of being out here in Web3. And that actually leads to another great question we got submitted here by Chris Carlson, which is why crypto? Why did you guys decide to come into this space?
Yeah, I remember Chris asking this question. I think if we were people from the outside crypto, and initially before we created any IP, I don't know if we will actually would ended up here, especially looking from the outside in. But I think there's a few things. First, we always saw Los Fomos as a media tech company. And again, when we think about building and growing the community, we don't like the idea that you are fully dependent on the platform, whether it's going to be a Farcaster in the future, or Farcaster something that's so early in the development, or it's going to be Instagram where your account can be banned because somebody reports your account or something. And this idea of how we have the community that is cross-platform and we own it, like email is one of the things, but it's always like email's like a one-way road. So that probably was the reason why we initially started the brand and try to keep brand on chain. It was also about the ownership when it was coming to dropping the episodes and being able to have it on chain. Also the more innovative ways of the monetization. There was a lot of things that we kind of experiment with within Los Fomos. The way we earn money, it's less traditional, where you take the advertisement and then you make content around, basically use generated content for the company. We didn't do it yet. We mostly partner with tokens and then use this token to reward people collecting our episodes. So it's a different model. So there's kind of an innovative ways of earning and having control was the initial reason. About the future of IP as well, especially as we grow it, I think maybe things that we did before, they proved to not be ready for the bigger world yet. But when it comes to the conversations that Paul mentioned about the idea of the members club and stuff like that, I think on-chain is still the way. And I think the way technologies and infrastructure is growing, there is still possibility how you can integrate some of the parts of it without making it fully on-chain maybe, but developing in this direction. So there is no one answer. There is a lot of things, and also potentially because we're just people who are excited about the innovation and how we can change media, how brands are built, and how communities are built, and how the ownership around the community is managed. And I think I still believe that crypto is going to be maybe fiat, maybe not, tokens and stuff, but it's going to be the future of finance and how people transact, especially internationally. And especially me as a person living in Georgia, I still have problems of accessing things like Stripe, for instance. So I think that's kind of a future. And while we're within crypto ourselves, like I think we're positioned well to be one of the leaders.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think there's so many awesome points to touch in on there, but I want to tap in on the interoperability side, the ability to go and either permissionlessly or reach out on something like the timeline here on Farcaster, reach out to other projects, other tokens, other communities, and say, hey, I would love to do something with you guys. Let's find a way to do that instead of having to lock in on one way or another. So it gives an opportunity to collaborate with other communities, and I think that's super valuable in this space. Pauline, I don't know if you wanted to add on to that. Otherwise, we can shoot it over to Arjun's question, which he shared at the beginning earlier today.
Yep, ready to move on.
Awesome. So Arjun also asked after the conversation about crowdfund, what was the approach to the crowdfund? Was the approach to the crowdfund inspired by how you've approached Hypersub before, and what were the lessons learned there?
Oh, yeah, Hypersub. Let's start with that. I think we did give Hypersub a good shot at the beginning when we launched it, and that was actually, I think, also the beginning of our series, Spicy Chat series, talking with founders in the space. But I think that Hypersub as a platform had the chance to become a lot more than it ended up being, because it's not being developed anymore. They stopped operations, I think. Or maybe it's still running, but well, not being maintained. And we used it. It was really helpful for us because I think, as Sako mentioned, one of the reasons why we chose to be in the crypto space is to be able to actually get sort of a holistic view of the community contribution. So like looking at different ownership models of communities also includes that you need to be able to capture who actually is contributing to the community and what they're contributing. And Hypersub being on chain allowed us to, in our mini app developed by Taco, like you can check it out, it's here on Farcaster, then it allowed us to actually capture who has been a supporter, for how long, what have they contributed, at least in the sense of who has been a producer, which is how we call Hypersub subscribers. And well, I will say that it was good for a while, but we didn't prioritize it after we moved into a different direction. And I think it can be a great tool, but yeah, just didn't focus on it.
I think to add what Pao said and answer the question from Arjan about the strategies. Yeah, I think the initial idea about the Hypersub was as a membership, right? And as a main way of finding your 1,000 true fans. And what she also mentioned about the roles, like, because Hypersub is a one thing, but then we also had people collecting episodes on Zora and pods on different platforms and creating the roles and capturing the contribution around on-chain and Farcaster and Web2, like if they're following, if they're members and stuff like that. But the strategies were kind of different because I think with Hypersub, we initially tried to develop it as the main source of income in terms of like a long term of what can we do when people subscribe to us for a few months or 1 month or a year, and when they become the producers, like what can we offer as an extra, right? And as a thank you. While with the crowdfund, it was more focused on like raising larger sums and specifically for a specific task rather than just generally funding our journey of running it, because the fund was fully used for the crowd for the IRL productions, like for the equipments, for the payments to the crew members and little details that we needed. So I would say that was the two different things. And I think the learnings is more like a learnings about like from the Hypersub, how you can keep people be subscribed, how you motivate them, like why would people keep doing that? I think that's something that could be taken into maybe different platforms or and try to apply what we learned from there. which to be honest was also a hard thing to learn, because most of the time we were reaching out to people and be like, hey, why did you subscribe? Why did you prolong? And stuff like that. And it was just to support us, because they were early, they see us early doing something and they just wanted to be by our side, and was less about having access to something. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
No, I think that's great. I think it's this conversation around patronage versus actually buying a service, right? Where or crowdfunding for a specific service, where some things are amazing for patronage in this space in crypto, to be able to tip on this platform in the various different ways that that's been possible, as well as people donating to different monthly subscriptions in one way or another. I think it's super powerful to understand when you are crowdfunding for a specific purpose, like IRL production, or you're just leaving something out there for people to support with patronage. And I think that difference is something that's been a little bit of a challenge in the crypto space. I know that Arjun had mentioned here. I think we've lost the plot a bit in crypto. What Taco is saying about the problems with Stripe, that's an important use case of crypto. The casino is not. And I think that is something that has taken a lot of the valuable space, especially on places like crypto Twitter. And that's why I find myself really enjoying safe spaces like Farcaster and different communities like you guys at Los Fomos, where there's a little bit more of that culture happening than just number go up, right? And I think the valuable part of crypto is all the other small things that are in there when you take away the noise and you look at the individuals producing value and signal. So thanks, Arjun, for all the amazing questions. I know we have one-ish question left, so if anyone has any last questions, shoot it in the cast chat. We got Pauline and Taco here for a little bit longer, so I appreciate you guys for joining. We have a question from Janica. When is the next IRL meetup? What's the plan? Do you guys have anything in the works? Do you guys want to start getting the community together to start thinking about an IRL meetup? Is there a conference you guys want to go to? Where are you guys at with the next steps?
I will say that the next IRL steps are to be defined, but you're going to hear from us very, very soon about that, because things are in the planning and they just have to be defined and confirmed. But as Sako said, there will be more IRL things, because I think we're both really excited about that. And yeah, let's say into the direction of like meetups, but also sharing skills and sharing interesting experiences to make it more spicy, So there will be several things coming up.
Yeah, I think it's maybe the question that maybe nobody asked, but it's kind of related to the answer. Why with my Power and I also think in the direction of IRL experiences. Well, first, the market influence negatively impacted our business model the way we had before with Los Fomos. So as we are getting ready for the next stage or phase, we are exploring also the new models of how can we create in Los Fomos experiences and immersive experiences with people, and first potentially in Paris. And then it might grow into adjacent experiences like to the conferences and things like that. So that's one of the things. Second one is, as Paolo mentioned earlier, we try to make the meetups, just personal meetups between Pao and I, more frequent, from the terms of maybe me relocating closer to Pao, so we don't have that problem of doing things when we have an idea and then we're just like, we're in different countries. And the third is potentially we will have an updated format as well. We still have around 3 to 4 episodes from the first IRL recordings, Midnight in Los Fomos, to launch. But after that, we already think about how we can improve it, because we feel that sitting in one place and getting people who create experiences to come to you and then sit in a space is kind of contradicts to the idea of creating IRL experiences. So we will try to see how can we improve that format and make it more exciting to watch and maybe participate in.
Yeah, and one last thing, there will be a new episode dropping this week, so we'll share updates soon. Keep your eyes on the Los Fomos channel here in Farcaster, but also on Instagram, because we're growing our Instagram channel, so join us.
Amazing, and that'll lead us into our last part. Do you guys want to share where people can connect with you? I know Los Fomos on Instagram will be one of them, but B, what are the different things you guys have in your weekly schedule? If an individual hears this and is like, oh man, I love what you guys are doing, I'm excited to get involved, how can an individual get involved? What do you guys do during the week? I know I see some posts very regularly on Farcaster that seem very Los Fomos themed, so I would love to know a little bit more about that background.
Yeah, so we have several different fun activities that we do every week, and one of them is, I think it started a while ago when Yannicka shared a Monday versus Friday me post, and it kind of became a tradition. Yeah, I mean, right now, I can't post more than one image if I quotecast a cast anymore, so I can't quotecast that much, but if I want to share 2 images, but if I do this is my favorite thing to do at the beginning of the week. It's Monday versus Friday me, and usually Monday is quite tired or I look a bit destroyed, and then Friday is usually the fun version, maybe with a nice drink, but we share these Monday versus Friday pictures with all different contexts. Can be Fashion Week related, can be a personal picture of myself. And then we have a few other things, we have the weekly reviews of things that happened in Farcaster, things people have said and shared, and interesting points. We do that at the moment every 2 weeks, and just to keep also to curate a bit more and select the most interesting things that are coming up. And then, oh yes, that's something that I really love. Taco and I were both really into tableware and glassware design. Obviously, spicy cocktails have to be in a really nice glass. Spicy cocktails taste better if they're in beautiful glassware. So we also always share nice glassware with each other. And coming to interior design and tableware, Eduard started this tradition of weird or not things that I would like to have in my home. And I think we're at version or iteration number 15 at this point, if we're still counting. And so he's always sharing his newest, weirdest objects that he found that he would like to have in his house on Sundays, I think. So I love that tradition. And yeah, did I miss something?
Eduard included
Wild Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's from the community perspective, I think those are the main things. And then we have YouTube, where we around once a month drop the full episode from Midnight in Los Fomos recordings. And I think on Instagram, we're kind of heavily trying to focus on growing the Instagram. We share more of short form contents that we create. It's like sharing weekly sum ups that Power mentioned on Instagram as well. We're taking what people shared on Farcaster to Instagram as well, and creating content around glassware, which is our newest iteration of the format. We're trying to experiment if it can help us grow people who are interested in the same niche, and sharing content around our episodes. So yeah, I think you ask about where people can find us, right? So YouTube, it's Los Fomos. On Instagram, it's Los Fomos FM. And here on Farcaster, it's the channel Los Fomos.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on today, sharing. I'm excited to chop it up more, see more things on the timeline, and hopefully later today post a Monday me and Friday me photo. I do have a photo I've been like sitting on for a while that I think's a great photo. So this will be a good Monday me. I'm excited. So thank you guys. It was a pleasure having you. Do you want to share anything else as we're getting out on the at the last bit of this here?
I think I want to share that I hope that Farcaster as the place where we incepted Los Fomos will find its. I think we're all like in a stage of finding our new ways of growing. So I hope that Farcaster, or we together with Farcaster, will find it and start bringing people to Farcaster, because that will be the best way of growing the Los Fomos community. And yeah, we're just open to people to join us and suggest their ideas or questions or feedback or criticism. We actually love criticism, but people are like a little bit too shy to share it, but we are like open to criticism as well. And just have everyone to have a very spicy week ahead.
Have a spicy week, and thank you so much for the invite, Zal.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah,
Have a
thank you.
spicy week, y'all, and we'll see y'all soon. Have a good one. Peace.
Have a great time. Bye.
See you.